Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World Talks. The dust after Tisa's crushing victory in parliamentary elections last Sunday in Hungary is slowly settling. On Wednesday, President Sulyok announced he will nominate Péter Magyar as the country's new Prime Minister. And to talk about it and much more, we're joined by Katalin Cseh, Hungarian MP from the Momentum movement. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So Péter Magyar inherits a country which has been, modeled for the last 16 years by Viktor Orbán's Fidesz party. So what tasks await the new Prime Minister now?
Well, first of all, let me just say how extremely delightful it is to see a prime minister finally who speaks in a conciliatory tone and who is set to focus on the most important issues facing the country instead of chasing imaginary enemies. It is really a breath of fresh air for those of us who have witnessed the destruction of the rule of law in Hungary under Orbán. But indeed, he will be in a difficult position as the public services have been destroyed by the bad governance of the Fidesz party over the last 16 years. He urgently needs to assure the anti-corruption reforms that are needed to bring back to Hungary the EU funds that were frozen due to the previous government's corruption. And of course, there are a lot of institutional reforms to be made. The freedom of the public broadcaster needs to be reestablished. And I think what is also very important is to finally find peace within society, because we have been a country divided for far too long.
Well, you say that one of the issues is unblocking the EU funds for Hungary. Now, if indeed the new Prime Minister wants to unblock them, he'll have time until August. Will he make it? That's not much time.
Well, that's not much time indeed, but Péter Magyar has done an amazing job over the past less than 2 years. So I have full confidence in him and his team to do this exercise, which is honestly just the need to make reforms which every single other European country managed to do. He has the supermajority to do that, and he is determined, and he has spoken about it on so many occasions that this is on the top of his priority list. And I believe that it is enough time, and with the supermajority he has enough power to do what's needed and to finally see these EU funds be spent on helping Hungarians, helping our public services to function better, helping small businesses instead of stuffing them into the pockets of oligarchs that has been done by the previous regime.
What do you make of those reports of the outgoing governmental officials, destroying documents of documenting the rule in Hungary, especially those concerning sanctions against Russia?
Well, this is of course deeply concerning, also not very surprising, because I am pretty sure that the outgoing administration has a lot that they would love to hide at this point. But I'm hoping that the 21st century, maybe it is not that easy to permanently destroy documents, and with the necessary technological knowledge, it is possible to be recovered. And if anybody has committed crimes or infractions, then they will be punished accordingly. But honestly, for me,
let me interrupt you here. You say punished accordingly during the election campaign. If I remember well, Péter Magyar said something like that the foreign minister deserves a life sentence for treason. Is this happening now?
Well, I'm hoping that the new government will restore independent courts, and these independent courts can look into whatever matter breached the Hungarian law, apart from the basic moralities and the basic ethics that we all share. I do think that it is pretty clear how damaging it was for Hungary's standing within our alliances, within the EU, within NATO, that the foreign minister had this very close connection with Moscow, that they shared confidential documents. So I think that this is certainly something that they cannot cover up, they should not cover up, and if there are other matters just like that, they need to be investigated by independent authorities.
We have a quote from Péter Magyar talking about the incumbent president, because apparently the president is going nowhere. But let's listen to Péter Magyar.
Tamás Sulyok must leave the formation of the new government. Tamás Sulyok is unsuitable to embody the unity of the Hungarian nation. Tamás Sulyok is unworthy to be the guardian of the rule of law in Hungary. Tamás Sulyok is unsuitable to be a moral standard, to be a role model for the Hungarian people. So as I repeat once again, after the formation of the new government, he must leave his office. I will report on this rest later. Thank you very much for your patience. All the best.
I'm wondering whether the Hungarian president can do something about the reforms that TISA is about to introduce, given the super majority it has achieved in the last parliamentary elections. So what awaits President Sulyok?
Well, it's important to note that unlike Poland, for instance, Hungary has a president that is not directly elected and whose powers are very often only ceremonial. It have been certainly the case over the past years. But that's true that the president can exercise veto power over certain types of legislation. It can, of course, cause issues. I am hopeful that the president also sees the overwhelming majority this new government has been granted due to the wishes of the Hungarian voters. And I also trust this new government to do their legislation in accordance with the Hungarian law. So I think that unless there is malicious intent involved, the new government will be able to operate. But I also share the concerns of Mr. Magyar that the president might not want to pose as an independent actor, and I am very curious to see how the situation unfolds, because if a government is granted a supermajority because a record number of Hungarians have voted for him, it has to be able to govern without any impediments.
And lastly and shortly, please, I have no doubts about the future relations of Hungary with the EU, but what about the US and Russia?
Well, I certainly hope that the situation with Russia will change very radically, and I trust that Péter Magyar's orientation towards the EU and our Western allies will be as strong as he proclaimed during the campaign. I hope we won't see any other situations, not only in Hungary, but in the EU as a whole, that the previous administration has built up. I do hope that he will find allies all over the world with whom he can truly protect Hungarian interests and work for the cause of the country as a whole.
Katalin Cseh, Hungarian MP from the Momentum movement, was our guest this afternoon. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews here on TVP World.